So what is that different transition for those that might be in the audience listening tonight who are thinking, oh, I want to go from working in a business to now working in the governance role for a business?
Well, think it all comes back to know thyself. One of the things, just to add to, I agree with everything that Liz said, but I'd also add a couple of other things apart from insightful. You've got to be mastery. You've got to have mastery of something, and you've got to be able to work with a group of people. And so know thyself. Some people can't have a boss, and they can't easily spend hours debating and listen to every voice in the room. Some people are just naturally wired to, go and do it themselves, extremely entrepreneurial. And so not everyone is suited to actually be a governor or for a career in governance, so to speak. Some people love the cut and thrust of that direct involvement with the executive team. Mm. And as already been mentioned tonight, a board's key relationship is with the CEO. If you actually like having a group of people around you and the cut and thrust of making decisions quickly on the spot and going and doing and all coming back to the ranch together, then you're better suited to management than you are to governance. So sometimes this is a bit age related, but I also think it's personality related. So the first thing is, it's really sexy at the moment to have a governance career and be on boards, really sexy. You should ask yourself, actually, does it suit my temperament? And if the answer to that is yes, then master something. The position on a board that's most in demand is someone who can chair the audit and risk committee. So if you've got an accounting and finance background and you think you do want to be on a board, you should have no problem getting your first gig, because someone who could potentially chair that audit and risk committee is very, very highly prized. But beyond that, think about the industry that you're most experienced in, because that's the one where you'll first get your board gig, and think about in that context what networks would lead you to that first board role in an area that you do have mastery of.
No, thank you for that. Liz, did you have anything to add to that in terms of that transition?
Look, first of all, I think that if there's someone wanting to go into governance, they need to first understand what the role and responsibilities of the board are to work out whether that is actually what they want to do. I think it's been mentioned before, a good starting point is to join a community-based organisation, would be not-for-profit or a charity, and by being a volunteer, and there's two parts to that, you can learn, but you can also give back to the community. The other message is just to learn and keep learning. Read, listen to podcasts, TED talks, attend the IOD courses, and if you can get a mentor, have a mentor. But also understand, and I think others have alluded to this, a directorship is not a retirement job, and it never was. So, it is hard work. You do have to take responsibility and live and breathe it. But in terms of going from management to governance, I think it depends what your executive role has been in the past. If you've been in an advisory profession, then you have to shift from relying on your professional expertise to rely on wisdom, judgment, and intellect, and being astute and having that inquiring mind. For CEOs, which I was a CEO before I became a full-time director, I think you have to learn that there's more than one view at the table. As a CEO, you cannot make the operation decisions, you can't manage the company, and you're there for strategic assistance. And sometimes you have to think that, you'll come up with situations where it's not whether a company can do something, but the question is, should they? So, that's what boards have to just have, that extra, as I think Teresa says, you have to be mastering, you have to have that, far more holistic view. And you also have to be able to persuade, as compared to being, when you're in an executive role, sometimes just that title gives you the right. But on a board, it doesn't work that way. You have to influence, and it might be your fellow directors, it might be the executive. No. So that's probably enough for me at the moment.